It's been a while since my last video on hide and seek tips and tricks. With the release of Forza Horizon 6 and its version of hide and seek, I think it's important to talk about strategies and how to play the game in general. After playing thousands of hide and seek game matches in Forza Horizon 5, combined with hundreds in Forza Horizon 6 so far, let me share with you some of my experiences. But before we get into that, I want to mention I am going to cover this game mode based on how it is meant to be played. What I am not here to do is debate the title of this game. Some parts of this video will be very technical, but they are also very important if you want to be effective in this game mode. I will also not discuss each vehicle and each map, as that's another video on its own. I will only be discussing general strategies for both seekers and hiders. With that out the way, let's take a look at Forza Horizon 5's version first. The Forza Horizon 5 version of hide and seek is essentially the same as the Forza Horizon 6 version in terms of gameplay. As a seeker, you have a radar that points in the direction of the hider. This is more of a general direction instead. The white indicator on the radar gets bigger the closer you are to the hider and fills completely once you are within the vicinity of the hider. This does not mean the hider is 2 feet away from you. This means the hider is just somewhere in the area. Your objective is to find the hider and fill the secret detection bar to 100%. As the hider, your objective is to avoid being detected by the seekers and reach the end zone once it is available. If the seekers fill the secret detection bar completely, the seekers win. If the hider reaches the end zone before time runs out, the hider wins. But if time runs out, the seekers win. Both the seeker and hider have one unique ability. A seeker is able to ping the hider, which marks them for the other seekers to see. The hider has the chase breaker ability, which slows down any seekers around the hider for a short amount of time. The chase breaker also turns the hider into ghost mode for 15 seconds. During this time, the hider is harder to see for the seekers, and they can also glide through other vehicles and small objects to get away. Aside from what was mentioned, the maps are obviously different in both versions, and so are the vehicles for both the hider and the seekers. The only exception is the Jeep, which is tuned differently in the Forza Horizon 6 version. Unlike the Forza Horizon 5's hide and seek version where there are 3 unique maps, Forza Horizon 6 has 4 maps. 2 take place in the city of Tokyo, and the other 2 take place in the mountainous wooded areas. So it's almost like it has just 2 maps. I'll talk more about these maps in the overall game another time, as I'm only discussing strategies in this video. Since playing hide and seek in Forza Horizon 6, there have been many games where things could have gone better. Let's talk about how to seek first, as you have a much higher chance of becoming a seeker than the hider. The seeker role, believe it or not, is extremely technical, and most players don't understand how to play it properly because of its many technicalities. Some common mistakes from an inexperienced player is to dogpile the hider thinking they can trap them, but are unaware of the hider's chasebreaker ability. Yeah, totally saw that one coming. They'll get hit by the chasebreaker and have no idea why that happened. They also misuse the ping, or they just don't know how to use their radar to keep up with the hider. Usually, the only time when a team of inexperienced seekers can win is if they're up against an inexperienced hider that misuses the chasebreaker or doesn't know the chasebreaker exists. But when they become the hider, they usually win because nobody knows how to seek them, and it becomes a game where nothing happens. Just a hider running around and nothing else happening. Then they stare out the windscreen admiring their victory as if they just invented fire, all thanks to a group of low-ranking seekers that didn't know how to seek at all. I'm kinda going off on a tangent here, but that's the main reason why I rarely upload any of my hider videos, because 1, nothing happens, and 2, there are too many hider videos from other people anyway. And that's the reason why people upload videos of them being the hider and not the seeker, because it's harder to seek than it is to run around and hide in a garage from clueless seekers. Unfortunately, having a seeker team of inexperienced players is extremely common. If you ever played a game with high-ranking players on both sides, it is extremely fun. Anyway, back to it. Let's talk about the hider compass, or the radar. The radar is extremely important. It will always point in the general direction of where the hider is. If your radar is not filled all the way, hold your ping and ignore checking any car around you. All of these cars, forget about it.
Forget about it!
These cars are not the hider, I can guarantee you that, so please stop checking them. Instead, head towards where the radar is pointing. Remember, clock is ticking, so you need to get there as quickly as you can. Once you get close and the radar fills completely, you are only at the edge of an invisible circle. I made this illustration just to show how it looks like. But, and that's a big but, before the radar fills completely, try to make the radar aim directly in front of you. This makes it easier for you to know where exactly the center of the invisible circle is, and that is where the hider is. It is up to you to find the hider in this vicinity. The hider will always be in the center of this invisible circle. As a seeker, you need to make a mental note of this circle at all times. Many inexperienced seekers will stop moving as soon as the radar fills up. I would suggest not doing this unless you know the hider is driving towards you. If they are staying still or driving away from you, do not stop. Do not ping. Let's look at this example in practice. I know the hider is staying still and not running based on how fast the radar is filling. I approach the general location of the hider and have the radar pointing directly in front of me. You will notice I ignore all of these vehicles because the hider is in the center of the circle. I do not ping. Pinging at this moment will guarantee a missed shot. You'll lose 35 seconds before you can ping again when you could have waited a few more seconds to make sure you know who the hider is. I am focused only on the containers to the right because this is where the center of the invisible circle is. I find the suspicious vehicle here and only then am I confident to ping for my team. If I get chase broken at this moment, my team will still be able to see the ping on the hider to pursue them. In this example, I applied the same strategy. Although my ping didn't mark the hider because they were behind this object, I still know that that is the hider. Because the hider will always be in the middle of this invisible circle, head towards the center when the radar fills, but remember to stay out of range from the chase breaker if you can. If you're in a tight area where you may get chase broken, that is a risk you have to decide whether you want to take it or not just to get the ping on the hider. The reason why I say that is because the chase breaker can go through everything: trees, houses, walls, roads, terrain, etc. So the chances of you getting chase broken through a wall is much greater because the ping cannot go through obstacles. It requires line of sight, whereas the chase breaker does not. Inexperienced players will often ping the moment the radar fills all the way. As mentioned before, you are only at the edge of this invisible circle. Even if you can visually see the hider when the radar fills, your ping cannot reach far enough to hit them, and you'll hit nothing but air.
Hit nothing but air.
Now you're left waiting another 35 seconds in order to ping again, and your teammates may have no idea where the hider is because they also pinged too early. Your team just lost precious time and are now at risk to losing to the hider just because of that. This invisible circle will move with the hider. The radar can also tell you if the hider is running away or coming towards you. Pay attention to how fast the white indicator is filling. If they are driving away from you, your radar will fill slowly as shown here when you are actively chasing them. But if it fills quickly like this, it means the hider is coming towards you. This is probably a good time to slow down or you'll end up flying past the hider at high speeds, getting chase broken, or even both. Slow down and get out the way of the chase breaker if you can. Ping them if you are able and turn around to follow. You can also use the radar to predict the path of the hider. This is good when they are running, and predicting the path will make it easier for you to intercept them. This works well in open areas, but it can also be done in the city just as long as you know the map layout. However, watch out for the chase breaker, especially if the hider hasn't used it yet, as intercepting them may cause them to chase break you if you get too close. When you do get chase broken and your team has no idea where the hider is, pay attention to the radar when you recover. It will briefly point in the direction of where the hider is. When you recover from the chase breaker and the radar does this, go to the direction of where the radar was just pointing. The hider is still close by, meaning you are still within the invisible circle. The only downside to this is you don't know if they are right next to you or they're at the edge of the invisible circle. And just to prove I'm not making this up, the hider is currently pinged in this clip. I am also currently chase broken, but still within the invisible circle. Watch what happens as soon as I recover. It points in the direction of where the hider was very briefly. You don't want to miss when the radar does that. As a seeker, you should also be using your radar along with your map. Your minimap is extremely helpful and works in conjunction with your radar. This is especially important in the city where you can't cut across fields. The minimap with the radar will give you an idea of which road the hider is on. Although it is important to look what's in front of you, you still need to look down at the radar and the minimap whilst avoiding traffic and other obstacles at the same time. Use the minimap and radar together, you can chase down a hider in the city and have an idea of which roads they turned onto. But once the radar fills up, you need to track down where they are and which way they went. In the city, you can do this by looking if there are any broken objects or NPC vehicles that are out of place. The hider hit these vehicles, and the hider is not far ahead. You can also pay attention to tire marks on the ground, as that is a clear indication where the hider went. Depending on the vehicle and how close you are to the hider, you can usually hear their vehicle, especially if they're at a higher RPM. I would advise when seeking to turn off your radio, wear headsets if possible. If you cannot see the hider, use your hearing instead. As humans, we can only see and hear a video game. If I can taste where the hider is going, I do that too, but that clearly isn't an option, let alone touching them. Turn that radio off and listen to where the hider is. There will be times when your radar is filled, but the hider is nowhere to be seen. After spending a few seconds checking towards the center area of the invisible circle, you should reset yourself by moving outside the area so the radar points behind you. Turn around and have it face directly in front of you again. Then re-enter to fill the radar. Then search the center area again, exactly where the radar was pointing. However, many Forza Horizon 5 hide-and-seek players, myself included, realize Tokyo maps can be very vertical-centric with all the bridges and infrastructure at the docks. Although you could be searching the center of where the radar is pointing, did you not consider the hider could be above you or below you? This is where map knowledge comes into play. At the time of this video, Forza Horizon 6 is still relatively new. We are all still figuring out these maps and familiarizing ourselves with all the hiding spots, glitches, and quirks for each map. It should take a fast seeker less than 1 minute to reach the docks. The faster you can find the hider, the more time you have to fill the detection bar. Some good seekers can traverse the multi-level buildings at the docks fairly quickly and scare the hider out. However, the game doesn't end here. This is just the beginning. You have to pursue them, and that's exactly what we'll talk about next. There are two primary roles when pursuing the hider. The first role is the most obvious. I don't know what to call these roles, but I'll just call this role the aggressor role. The aggressor role is where you are up against the hider at all times, trying to stop them by pushing them into the wall or causing them to crash. This role is the easiest to play as you just stick to the hider for as long as you can no matter what. This is the role an inexperienced seeker will play. The second role, I'll call that the pursuer role. The pursuer is much more experienced and hangs back as the aggressors fill the detection bar. This role is harder to play and far more technical. As the pursuer, you need to keep track of when the hider uses the chase breaker and the next time it is ready to be used again. The pursuer needs to make decisions of when it is necessary to back away from the hider to avoid being chase broken. They are also generally better at seeking than the aggressors as they can track the hider down after chase breaking. The hider may sometimes realize someone is hanging out but wants to hit every seeker. They will sometimes chase the pursuer to try to fulfill that. If you are playing this role, you need to know when to turn around and run while maintaining a safe distance from the chase breaker.
I gotta get out of here!
You may also notice your teammates who are playing aggressively will follow the hider towards you. You do not want that to happen as there will be no one to go after the hider if everyone gets chase broken. In a perfect scenario, the aggressors on the hider will back off knowing the hider is coming towards you. Then they become the pursuers and you become the aggressor. When you are running, try not to hit anything but keep an eye on the hider at the same time. If you are able to keep away, the hider will have no choice but to use the chase breaker on your team. This is your chance to go after the hider to fill the secret detection bar as much as possible before the next chase breaker is ready. The hider will try to outmaneuver you or outrun you on rough terrain if you are the only one who has not been hit by the chase breaker. In some cases, like this clip, this one mistake is enough to end the game in a loss for the hider if multiple seekers catch up to them. In addition to this role, you need to keep track of when the next chase breaker is ready so you can back off and follow the hider from a safe distance until your team catches up. Then rinse and repeat the process. As a side note, a good hider will never let a seeker simply waltz right up to them. Expect to get chase broken when you do that. This is not a 1 versus 1 game. If the hider gets you and your entire team in the process, your team is at risk of losing to the hider. Since you are the only pursuer and everyone else is playing the aggressor role, you really have to watch the hider, and especially your own team. Your teammates will push you into the path of the hider if you stop short of the hider's chasebreaker range. From my experience when playing the aggressor role, do not expect someone on your team to play the pursuer. If you are playing with an experienced player, they should know exactly which role to play if they see you on the hider. Then they'll wait for you to take the chasebreaker hit. Be very careful with your teammates when you are pressuring the hider. The player behind you may only plan to dogpile the hider, causing both of you to get hit by the chasebreaker. For this seeker, they did exactly that, which caused us this game. What they should have done was stay back, wait for the hider to use the chasebreaker on me, then they go after the hider to fill the detection bar as I recover. This is the reason why I play the pursuer role most of the time, as I don't trust these players. Inexperienced seekers will do all sorts of things. If you are the only competent one on your team, you need to stay away from the other seekers as well. They'll run you into the hider. Into the wall. And in this case, nearly running me from behind the hider. That alone could have cost us this game. As funny as it sounds, 2 seekers is all it takes to win against the hider as long as they play their roles correctly. You both would exchange roles between being an aggressor and a pursuer. One player needs to play the aggressor. If that is you, when you are chasebroken, switch to the pursuer role as the other player switches to the aggressor. The other player switches roles to become the aggressor and will take the hit from the next chasebreaker. Then you become the aggressor and they become the pursuer. A good team of 2 seekers will continue to exchange roles back and forth, but always adapt to what the hider is doing. If you are playing the pursuer role and the hider turns around to come to you, the aggressor needs to change roles with you. You and your teammate should be as far as you can from each other, so the hider cannot hit both of you with the chasebreaker. When the hider turns around and comes to you, your teammates should stay where they are and not follow the hider towards you. If they do, you both get chasebroken and risk losing to the hider. If they stay back, they become the pursuer and you become the aggressor. You might take the hit from the chasebreaker as we see in this clip, but your teammate will not since they did not follow the hider towards you. They can now pursue the hider as you recover. With an understanding of these roles against a competent hider, the aggressors cannot win without a pursuer, and the pursuer cannot win without an aggressor. Both have to work together to take out the hider. If you do end up in a game with high-ranking players and decide to play the pursuer role, just note that someone else may also be playing the same role. In this Forza Horizon 5 clip, we identify the hider, but nobody wants to go in to play the aggressor. It is actually pretty hilarious as the 4 of us just stare at each other wondering who wants to take the bait. So I'm like, you know what? I'll do it. As soon as I get chasebroken, just look at how everyone rushes in. The game ends very quickly after that. As the pursuer, you need to get on the hider as soon as possible after they use the chasebreaker. The clock is ticking and you have less than 1 minute to fill the detection bar as much as possible before the hider can use the chasebreaker again. Get on them and stick to them. In some cases, it's possible to lose the hider here too if no one pings the hider before they chasebreak your team. This makes it difficult to locate the hider as you lose valuable time to fill the detection bar. Stay close enough to see the hider, but far away enough to not get chasebroken. Let's talk about the ping ability. The ping has a longer range than the chasebreaker and will reveal the hider for 12 seconds. It has a 35-second cooldown before you can use it again. Although it has a longer range, the ping cannot go through walls, houses, and other obstacles. It also requires line of sight. You need to be able to see the hider in order to mark them for your team. If there is an obstacle directly in the middle of the hider vehicle and you hit the ping even within range, your ping will miss. On a forest-heavy map, if another player has pinged the hider, you might consider holding your ping until the initial ping wears off. In hide and seek for Forza Horizon 6, this could save you from losing the hider in the woods. Sometimes the ping is the only thing you can rely on to track the hider in the woods because of
shit.
Let's talk about this thing, the seeker detection bar. Now you might be wondering, what's there to talk about? Well, there's actually quite a lot about it. Of course, as a seeker, you want to fill this bar up to win against the hider, but filling it comes down to a few things: how long you can stick with the hider, how fast you and the hider are driving, and how many seekers are on the hider to fill it. The more seekers on the hider, the faster it will fill, but, and that's a massive but again, if the hider is staying still or moving at a slow pace, even with a bunch of seekers around them, the detection bar fills very slowly. However, if everyone is driving at a fast pace, the detection bar fills extremely fast, especially with multiple seekers on the hider.
Uh-oh!
If the hider misuses the chase breaker and you are able to keep up with them, it is possible you can end the game right here. I would suggest if you are following the hider to not ram them into the wall. You are not trying to hurt them, you are trying to fill the detection bar. It is better off letting them run at high speeds because the faster they go, the faster the detection bar fills, as long as you keep up with them. Only in rare occasions will you need to ram them into the wall. One scenario where ramming them into the wall is a good idea is when the hider is close to the end zone and you want to stop them in order to let your team catch up for one final attempt. This doesn't work all the time, knowing the hider can just chase break everyone and be on their way. But if you do it and time it correctly, it can be very beneficial.
Seekers, protect the destination zone! Undetected hider inbound!
The secret detection will slowly reduce its detection over time. It is important to be on the hider to prevent losing any detection. When the end zone is open, do not rush to the end zone thinking you're going to stop the hider there. The game wants you to guard the end zone, but that will do nothing against the hider. What are you going to do? Try to block them? Are you forgetting the hider can just chase break you and drive right through you and into the end zone? And you still need time to fill the secret detection bar too. The chances of you filling it and winning when the hider is right outside the end zone is very small. The hider is just playing with you now. Your time was better used to seek them before they got to the end zone. Stop waiting at the end zone thinking you're going to stop the hider there. With the secret strategies out the way, let's talk about the hider. I know there is a bug where the chase breaker doesn't always work in the Forza Horizon 6 version, but I would assume the chase breaker works as expected for these upcoming strategies. As the hider, the game encourages you to blend into traffic. I am going to shoot the idea down right now. That is probably the worst strategy against strong seekers. You'll get away with it with low-ranking seekers, but an experienced seeker can pick you out almost immediately based on a number of things. Non-tinted windows, poor vehicle color choice, as most hiders always pick a darker color, thinking the seekers won't be able to see them, but that never works. Cruising at a high RPM on a low gear. No front license plate. Warmer headlight color temperature on some vehicles. Differences in headlights and tail lights on some vehicles. Jerky steering movement. Music on. And for the Jeep, a solid vehicle color without the hard top trim. I might be missing a few more things, but these are the things I found out so far. In the dark, the hider's Mitsubishi Montero will always have these two spotlights on, whereas the NPC vehicles will not. From a distance, the taillights, including the third light, shine brightly as shown here. Some hider cars are louder than others. The Jeep and the Montero are the two loudest ones. The G-Wagon and the other two sedans are relatively quiet, which is great for losing the seekers in the forest. I won't go into too much detail on each car as that's a topic for another video. Knowing a little bit about the vehicle of choice can determine if you win or lose as the hider. Against high-ranking seekers, you should try to stay out of sight as best you can. You can do this by hiding in tight areas or running and using objects like buildings, bridges, mountains, and the forest to cover you. There is not a single strategy that will guarantee a hider win. You need to combine strategies together. Use your minimap often, and I mean often. Make decisions on where to go, plan escape routes, plan when it is safe to use the chasebreaker, etc. Against a high-ranking seeker team, remember it only takes 2 good seekers to take you out. If you have 5 good seekers on you, you are in big trouble to the point where the game actually feels unbalanced. I have talked with a few high-ranking players and even they agree it is very difficult. You have to be careful when up against good seekers. As the hider, once the seekers ping you, it may be difficult to outmaneuver them to keep that ping off you. Even with multiple seekers on you, you may notice at least one seeker sitting outside, and that is the player you have to be afraid of. That is the pursuer. You can drive towards them, but they will just drive away. They have a faster car. Look at the seeker detection bar filling up. You have to chase break the seekers around you or you will lose. Then you have to worry about outmaneuvering that pursuer too.
In 200 yards.
Uh-oh!
This is a very bad position and you should really try to not let this happen. This isn't a tip. This is a prescription, trust me. If you can't outmaneuver that pursuer, you'll lose the game very quickly.
Bad luck, hider!
Stay out of sight for as long as possible. When I play as the hider, I look around constantly to keep track of where the seekers are. You can see them on the minimap. Use it to help you. This determines where you can go and where you should not. Don't look forward all the time and just chase break the very first seeker who gets behind you. What if the entire group is behind that first seeker you just chase broke? The ones that show up after this part of your minimap? You're done! Use the minimap and keep track of the seekers. Sometimes, you'll be driving using only the minimap for a few seconds without even looking at the road ahead. You look at the seekers where they are and calculate all the possible paths you can go to keep you out of sight. That's how important the minimap can be. You are the hider. This means you also determine where the seekers go. If you want to play at the docks, stay at the docks. If you want to play in the sakura trees, stay here and they have to play this game of smashing into unbreakable trees to find you. One thing I often look for, especially when playing stealthy, is to chase break the first seeker from behind a wall or building. This can be risky but very rewarding when done correctly. But before doing so, I need to make sure I have a way out. When you chase break the first seeker, this will confuse the other seekers as they'll put their attention to the seeker who was just chase broken. This is your opportunity to slip away. However, if the first seeker you encounter pings you first and you chase break them immediately after, That can end the game for you. The other seekers will come to you and now you just have wasted your chase breaker. You have to wait 50 seconds before you can use it again, and you have a ping on your head with seekers coming your way. That is enough time to take you out. Oh, but why not just hide somewhere they can't find you? There are times where you would want to hide in a tight area from the seekers. You might get away with it against low-ranking players, but I wouldn't rely on this strategy only. A good seeker can read the radar and use the invisible circle strategy to find you quickly. If they can't get to your exact location, a high-ranking seeker can just sit 3 feet away from you to start filling the detection bar. They oftentimes will even scare you out of your hiding spot because they have map knowledge as the secret detection bar is filling, so you have no choice but to get out. You could consider chase breaking this seeker and running away if they haven't pinged you first. Chase breaker misuse is one reason why many hiders lose against the seekers. It is a very powerful ability, of course, but don't misuse it. If you are playing against low-ranking seekers who do nothing but dogpile you, well, let them. Hit them all with a chase breaker and run away. Should be an easy win, but nothing to brag about. Just keep in mind that this is a terrible strategy against high-ranking seekers trying to hit the entire group at once.
Looks like the game is up for Team High!
It is always best to assume you are playing against good seekers. Let's talk more about the chase breaker since we're on that topic now. As mentioned earlier in this video, the chase breaker has a shorter range than the ping, but it can hit a seeker through anything. This will bring any seeker in range to a complete stop and slow them down for 20 seconds. Within that 20-second window, this is your chance to get away. It also turns your vehicle into ghost mode for 15 seconds, which allows you to go through other vehicles and small objects whilst being harder to see for any pursuing seekers. In Forza Horizon 5, some players even use it to maintain high speeds over rough terrain. It is a risk you will have to decide if you want to take or not if you are going to be on rough terrain for a while. For an additional 15 seconds of gliding off-road, that should allow you plenty of time to plan your next move. Remember, look at your minimap to see where the seekers are before you use the chase breaker to glide off-road. As the hider, you don't have to stay on the main road. Go off-road and get behind cover if you are able. Inexperienced seekers will often get confused and believe you are still on the main road, but you are not. This can throw off some good seekers, but someone may eventually find you if you keep this strategy for too long. I have also seen many hiders lose against seekers because they run out in the open. The seekers have faster vehicles, so why even try to outrun them in the open? Especially in Forza Horizon 5's Mulehey map, hiders usually lose because they run out in the open. Consider using the festival. I personally like the city of Mulehey much more though. Out of thousands of games I played on the Forza Horizon 5 version, I've only encountered one player who used the city strategy. Since then, I learned from that strategy and refined it specifically to counter high-ranking seekers. This allows me to keep the radar to the seekers filled up, which confuses them even more, especially since I'm not actually stationary. This makes it difficult for them to pinpoint my location. With a strategy like this, you may want to keep the seekers close to you, but not to the point where they can see you. Just close enough to confuse them and keep the radar filled as long as possible. Then hit a few of them with a chase breaker behind a wall or building to force the others to use their pings. Before ending this video, this game mode is a lot of fun, especially with players who know what they're doing. As mentioned earlier, the Forza Horizon 6 version of hide and seek is still new, so we're all still figuring out the hiding spots and getting familiar to the features of each map. I would also like to mention long ago when this game mode first came out to Forza Horizon 5, the chasebreaker had a cooldown effect of just 40 seconds. A few months later, it was extended to 50 seconds and it has been that way ever since. I think they did that because the hider wins too often and that didn't give the seekers enough time to fill the seeker detection bar. Even with the 50-second cooldown, players with limited hide and seek experience still believe the chasebreaker is too powerful. Hiders who have played against 5 experienced seekers countless times like myself would appreciate the 40-second cooldown. But unfortunately, with this game mode, players are mostly low level and are just bad at seeking, so they increased the chasebreaker cooldown to 50 seconds to account for that is my best guess. There are 5 seekers and only 1 hider. Let me repeat that. There are 5 seekers and only 1 hider. It only takes 2 good seekers to take out the hider. The chasebreaker was nerfed from 40 to 50 seconds of cooldown and has been that way since the end of 2024. Even the ping was extended to 12 seconds of reveal time compared to 10 seconds when the game first came out. This game favors the seekers more based on these changes. If you can win against 5 high-ranking seekers, you'll really impress me. Do that a couple times on various maps and let me know what you think about that 50-second cooldown timer. It can be a lot of fun as you'll learn about different tricks and hiding spots from good players. I hope you found value in this video. A video like this takes me many hours to put together. I took a lot of time to capture these footages and some of them are nearly 2 years old. Feel free to subscribe and drop a comment down below to show your support. Maybe you know something I don't know about the game and would like to share it too. But thanks for watching and happy seeking!